Evicting a tenant can seem like a complicated process, but in this video, we'll quickly explain eviction laws in New York and how to recover your property in 5 simple steps. First, what is an eviction? Eviction is the process of legally removing a tenant. It's illegal for a landlord to change locks or physically remove a tenant themselves. So, if the renter refuses to leave after violating their lease, you must seek an eviction from the court. The process for simply terminating a lease differs from that of an eviction. Lease terminations require proper notice from the landlord or tenant, and state conditions can be found on our website. Legal reasons for eviction in New York. A landlord only has grounds to evict a tenant for reasons allowable in the state. The first step in the eviction process is to give the lessee one of the following notices. Non-payment of rent. If the tenant is late on rent, you can serve them a 14-day notice to pay or quit, which is also called a demand for rent in New York. This gives them 14 days to pay the rent in full, along with any penalties, or vacate the property. Non-compliance. If your tenant violates their rental agreement, a 30-day notice to comply or quit gives them 30 days to either abide by the lease or vacate the property. Examples of lease violations may be sound complaints, damage to the property, illegal activity, or parking in the wrong spot. Refer to your rental contract for an overview of agreements to which your tenant is bound. Rent grace period. In New York, there is no rent grace period. Rent is due on the due date. An eviction notice can be served if the rent is only 1 day late. 5 steps to legally evicting a tenant in New York. Serve the notice to quit. Choose the form you need and download or fill it out on eForms.com. In New York, you cannot serve the demand for rent or notice to quit yourself, so it's recommended that you hire a civil process server. File eviction papers with the court. If the tenant hasn't mitigated the issue and remains on the property, you can proceed to court. File a petition with the local city, village, or town court if the property in question is outside of New York City, or with the housing court if the property is inside New York City. Most forms need to be notarized before filing. After filing, you'll be able to select a hearing date. Serve the court documents. The tenant now needs to receive the information about the case filed against them, which can be done using a process server. Attend a hearing. At the hearing, the judge will reach a ruling. If the tenant does not show up, or if the judge rules in your favor, the court will order the tenant to vacate. Removing the tenant. In some instances, the tenant may still remain on the property. To receive assistance from the sheriff, you'll need a judgment and a warrant for eviction from the court. After presenting these documents to the sheriff, they'll provide the notice of eviction to the tenant. The tenant will then have 72 hours to vacate before the sheriff can remove them and their possessions. Damages. Often, the tenant's security deposit does not cover total losses. If damages are not awarded at the hearing, you may be able to recover past due rent and court fees through small claims court. Now you can get eviction proceedings started. Get eviction forms, court documents, and all other information you'll need at the link below for free.